Hey, I'm Emily and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome. On this channel, I make a lot of Cricut crafts and beginner-friendly Cricut tutorials, and also I just started a new crafting vlog series where I take you along with me on my crafting market journey. So if that sounds interesting to you, please subscribe to my channel. It would really mean a lot. But in today's video, I have a really fun Cricut craft, especially if you love working with felt. You're gonna love this one. And they are tic-tac-toe boards made out of felt. I couldn't decide which one I wanted to do more. I was torn between waffle and pancake, so I did both. I'm gonna show you how to make the boards themselves in Design Space to cut everything with your Cricut. I also made little pieces for them because you can't just have the board by itself. So I have little strawberries, blueberries, and I also have a pat of butter, so I thought that'd be really adorable. So if you're interested in seeing how I made these boards myself using my Cricut and some felt, then keep watching. So first, you're going to need a rotary blade and drive housing for your Cricut. It comes with 2 plastic pieces, one to protect the ridges on the gear on top and one that protects the blade. So I'm going to show you how to take both of these off and then put them back on for storage, because if you don't put the blade cover back on, you're going to risk cutting yourself. So the top one just pops off pretty easily. The bottom one you're just gonna pull straight out. And make sure your fingers are placed on either side like this where the bumps are. The blade is gonna be pointed in between your fingers rather than towards your fingers. So pull straight down, it comes off very easily, and like you could see, it's a really sharp wheel blade. And to put it back on, you're going to line it up with the same way that we took it off. So you're going to make sure that the blade is lined up along the seams and have the pads of your fingers on the other sides where the little ridges are. And just push it straight down and you'll hear it click into place, and then you know that it's on. And now you won't cut yourself. You're nice and protected. You're going to insert the rotary blade into clamp B. So first I'm taking out the blade that I already have in there, and I'm replacing it with the rotary blade. Now I'm going into Design Space, and I really wanted my boards to look like a waffle and a pancake. So I'm going over to images on the left and searching for waffle. And right away I found one that was really ideal for what I'm looking for. And I'm gonna focus on the waffle first, and then once I'm done, I'll do the pancake. I'm resizing it to be 6 by 6. And then I'm going to go over to shapes and just start adding squares over the image. I'm trying to copy this design, but just in solid squares. I don't want them to be outlines. And with these tiny little squares, I'm trying to just align them as best as I can. It doesn't really matter, because even if they get cut out like this, I'm gonna have to place them one by one when I glue them together, but I just like visually seeing them all perfect how they're supposed to look before I cut it. So now that I have my waffle squares in 3 different colors, I'm going to add blueberries and strawberries. So I'm searching blueberry, and with these designs, I want it to be as simple as possible because I am working with felt. So it's going to be difficult to do any kind of intricate design. I'm just eyeballing their sizes. I just want to make sure that they fit well inside of the squares. I'm duplicating all of them. I'm going to make around like 5, which would give 1 extra piece for each type of fruit, but I figured it's better to have more than not enough. And now I'm going to work on the pancake, which was super simple. I just added 2 circles. I'm resizing the largest one to 6, and then adding a lighter one in the middle. And I definitely want the pancake to have a grid on it. I'm going back over to shapes and choosing a rectangle. I'm just going to stretch it out and actually use the waffle squares as a reference for my grid. So now I'm just going to unite all of the lines together, and I can move this down onto my pancake, and it fits pretty well. I'm going to have it the same color as the top of my pancake, so that way it blends in. And for my pancake, I'm making blueberries and little pads of butter. I already have the blueberries already done, so I'm duplicating one set of those. And then for the pads of butter, I'm just using squares. And I actually decided to make the seeds of the strawberries a little bit bigger because I was worried that they wouldn't even get cut because they're so small. So I'm applying an offset to all of the seeds. I wound up doing an offset of 0.08 and then uniting the seed and the offset together just to make it a little bit thicker. So now I should be all ready to make. And the only thing is I want to do a test cut because this is my first time working with a rotary blade and also the new felt that I just bought. So I'm going to just create a circle in Design Space and then going over to materials and choosing wool fabric felt out of the felt options with default pressure. And cutting out that circle so I don't have to potentially waste a ton of my felt if my Cricut doesn't cut it the way I want it to. I wound up having to cut it twice on default pressure just to have it cut all the way through. So once it cuts the first time before removing the mat, I'm clicking the cut button once more and it'll cut in the same exact spot again. And it looks like it cut perfectly. So now I'm going to go back to my actual designs, and I had to get rid of the grid at first because the felt wasn't big enough to cover the entire mat. So I had to first cut out the big shapes and then go back in and cut out the grid in that same color with a different piece of felt. And I'm going to link the felt and all the products that I use in the description below. I really liked this felt. I had a hard time finding felt that worked in the beginning because I went to Michael's and bought just like the $1 pieces of felt, but they're not like actual felt. I'm pretty sure it's like polyester and it's not thick enough for working with your Cricut. It just was like a disaster, especially with intricate cuts like this. It just was not cutting and it was pulling my felt apart and I was ready to have a mental breakdown. So I highly recommend the felt brand that I bought. It's from Amazon. It is so good and it came with duplicates of basic colors but also like a variety of different colors. So now I have to create more felt projects because I have a lot of felt that I have to use. And I'm basically just doing the same thing as I did with the test cut now. So I'm choosing felt wool fabric with default pressure and cutting twice and then removing them from my mat. And you definitely want to make sure that you have a fabric grip mat for this project as well, because you're going to have a hard time holding down your felt. It'll move around on a regular standard grip mat. Trust me on this. I thought that I could get away with a standard grip mat when I was trying this before with the older felt. And when I tell you it was a complete and total disaster, we live and we learn, but here I am telling you, you definitely need a rotary blade, a fabric grip mat, and felt that is going to be thick and sturdy enough to cut, or you will literally be in tears trying to replicate this project. For the blueberries, I found it easier to just take my Cricut tweezers and pluck them off the mat. And I was actually shocked at how well it cut out the seeds. I mean, the seeds shifted like a tiny bit on the mat, but my Cricut cut it pretty well. They were all cut out and I was very highly impressed. I'm going to do the pancake first because it's the easiest. I'm using this clear tacky glue that I bought from Michael's. I'm going to apply a generous amount onto one side of the circle. and I'm flipping it over and pressing it down and making sure that it's nice and flush with the other circle. The grid was a little bit trickier than the circle, but it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Usually I'm like a mess when I'm applying glue. Like I just get it everywhere. I don't know. I think I'm just really impatient. That's my problem. And I almost dropped it here. All right, so we're gonna apply this right down there, and then I'm patting that down and letting it dry. It only takes like honestly 10-15 minutes to dry. It really doesn't take that long. The waffle, I found it easier to just set up the grid section before I applied any glue. Otherwise, if I was just doing it one by one, they would just be uneven and it would look like a complete and total mess. So this way they at least look somewhat even. And time for the worst part, which was the strawberry, just because the seeds were so tiny, and if I didn't apply enough glue, they wound up falling off. Like if you're doing this specific strawberry, I would say either maybe do bigger seeds, or if you want the small seeds, just make sure that you have enough glue and that they're on there really well. And I found it easiest to apply the glue in the spots that I wanted the seeds and then put the seeds on top of the glue. They were so small that it was impossible for me to apply the glue directly to the seed. I let it dry for like maybe 30 minutes, and this is how they turned out. Look how adorable these are. I'm so proud of them, and I love tic-tac-toe boards. I've actually been seeing some tic-tac-toe boards made out of ceramics that look amazing, and I wish I was that talented, but I'm not. So this is my version of it, and I think it's still pretty cute. I mean, it's a fun project, and I really like it. 10 out of 10, I would recommend this Cricut craft. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you want to see more crafting content from me, just subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I post a new video. And if you want to follow me on my other socials, I post a lot of short form content, and I do more regular behind the scenes, life updates, stuff like that on my Instagram. Everything is linked in the description below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!